Well, hello, good evening. Welcome to another episode of FlipTrax Radio, which we call podcast because we're really not on the radio. And we're kind of a podcast because it can be archived and you can see it again and all that stuff. And I'm so happy to have my longtime dear friend Artie Scraglio in the studio tonight with me to sing and play and share stories. And do we say anecdotes? Is that what they say?
Reminisce.
Do we solve riddles? And the omnipresent Tony Walker, the helmsman here, Governors. He lives here basically. He's here in the morning, in the afternoon.
Pretty much.
He's here at night for me. Once in Blue Moon.
That's right.
Yeah.
Happy to have you back.
All the cards are stacked against me every time this show's supposed to happen. But I'm so grateful that it's happening right now. Okay. So Artie.
Yeah.
How long have we known each other? It's got to be almost 50 years, I got to say.
Well, if you go by, I tend to think that it must have been about fourth grade, if not third grade.
Yeah,
so that's 8 years old.
8 years old. And
so we're almost.
I just turned 57,
right,
so we're
right
pretty
damn
close. Oh, my God. That's
so it's a year away from 50 years, right?
Yeah. So I picked up the guitar at 8 years old, and I would think within the first year, me and Artie were like playing guitars together and eventually writing songs and being the Lennon and McCartney of elementary school. In our own mind,
Karamsik.
We thought we were the greatest,
Grade school, whatever they called it.
It helped us nurture our dream and the goal that we both set to be musicians, full-time, lifetime musicians, and we've achieved that goal. I'm so proud to say that at a young age I knew what I wanted to be. It was either an astronaut or a musician.
I say that all the time to people. Try to know.
Yeah.
Try to know. It's the only thing that we, or maybe myself, had going for yourself is that was pretty. You were pretty convinced of that. You didn't know how that was going to happen, but you knew it was going to be that.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays, we both teach guitar to people and we get them inspired. And the younger ones, they take to it. But I think everything is so regimented as like kids learn this now and they learn this now and they learn this, or they have these activities in sports or whatnot. And even though we had that, for some reason, there was something in the water in Levittown where us and many other kids our age, we took to it so much where it was like you couldn't get it out of our hands. And I don't see that these days with any youth as far as these instruments of, playing guitars and really getting sucked into it like we did,
Totally did. And I really credited you and our friend Dave Diamond. Like, I wanted to be your guys' friends. And it seemed like, well, if you wanted to hang and you wanted to be our friends, you're going to pick something up and learn how to play it. And I look back at that and I go, the fact that I'm a musician now all my life, I always look back and think that it had more to do with the fact, and I think that that's what created the bond that lasts all these years, is that that wasn't necessarily my intention, but it was an effect of it. It happened because of that, and because then you got the bug. I got the bug really quick between your families and all, and I was just kind of like, all right, I get it, this whole thing, and everybody just the family seemed to circle around music mostly. Mm-hmm. I didn't have that at home as much, so and that's why I was always at your guys' houses. I was like, I like this, but we were drawing and playing with G.I. Joes just as much in the beginning, so we were equally. It was equally like whether we realized it or not. I think we wanted to. We were starting this friendship up, and just especially at Dave's house because there were instruments around so much that it just seemed like part of the go. Like that's what we were going to do.
That was the big springboard for us because Dave Diamond, friend of the studio, and you know him with all the things we've done. Mm-hmm. He had two older brothers who played music, and they had a bandstand set up in their basement.
Yeah.
Shag rug,
no doubt,
drum platform, riser. They had the amp set up, spotlights, and
and that totally plays because that was part of the psychological
It was almost like
thing
it was almost like a hidden chamber. Like we'd be playing G.I. Joes upstairs as kids, and then Dave would be like, "Hey, you want to see the studio?" And to go downstairs and be like, "You mean?" This is a real electric guitar, and I can plug it in, and it can make noise.
There were amps and bass amps. There was everything there.
Yeah.
And in that sense, it felt more like, boy, if I want to keep doing this, like it feels like I do, I better keep up, or I better, hold my own, make the grade, and that's.
But we did learn from one another, and we would figure out songs on our own. We'd put the turntable on 16 and hear everything done slow, and figure out how it played and
lyrics, bad, wrong, incorrect lyrics when there were no lyric sites. You look back to a time when there was not all this other stuff that
we had to listen over and over. What are they saying there? What are they saying?
And then we found out we sang it for 11 years wrong. It's like, is that what it really was? You know what I said right there for the last 100 times?
Oh God, there's still probably some songs out there I'm singing.
I would
forever.
think that that happens with me too. Where it's just kind of like, was it always? It was always that.
One of my earliest,
I don't
fondest
know
memories.
if I approve of
One of the earliest
correct
memories of
lyrics.
Artie and I trying to figure out Truckin' off of Europe '72.
Oh, yeah, those were a mess.
And we're trying, and you know, it's a whole album side, and we're thinking, yeah, let's learn Truckin'. That's a popular Grateful Dead song, and it started playing, and it was, you know, what are they saying there? Here's it again. I'm flashing my keys out on Main Street.
Sounded good. It was close.
Sounded good enough.
It was
You know,
close. We came to learn no cigar.
we love when the Elton John albums had the lyrics in there, or the Beatle albums had the
Everything,
lyrics, and it was
right.
like great. But these Dead songs and what they were singing about,
So many things that
you know,
wasn't
we
the
had
case.
no idea. You know,
Beatle albums weren't always great for lyrics. Sgt. Pepper did it, but
Yeah.
the later ones did.
well, the Blue album and the Red album that helped us out entirely.
You would slow the Beatle albums down to hear all the Paul is dead clues.
Oh
That's
yeah,
what
turn
you would
that
do.
backwards.
Yeah,
We did
yeah.
all that.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did all that. Used to creep me out.
Yeah.
Used to actually be like spooked going to bed at night. I'd be like, holy crap, he's really dead. He's a ghost.
Between that and the Son of Sam, the summer of Son of Sam, that was another freaky time. They had the sketches of him on the page of the Newsday, and
I mean, we're 10 years old then.
Yeah.
10 or 11 years old, so.
but we were definitely aspiring to be rock stars. I mean, there was no question. Our parents saw it too, and they just to be so supportive, and you know, like doctor our birth certificates when we were underage to play bars, and you know. I would go down to the local music store. I wanted to buy a guitar on the window, and I'd go there with like 89 cents from my paper out and leave it there every day to finally buy this $40 guitar. And,
Right.
you know, I'd come home and my father would bring it home from work. Yeah, you know, you'd take forever to get that thing on your own. You know?
There you have it.
Yeah.
That is it right there. Yeah, they were supportive about it. It took my parents a little while, but then they came around going, I guess this is it. Because
Yeah.
this is what he wants to do. And then they years later, they confided, boy, we crossed our fingers about that because we weren't so sure.
Right.
But even in their best moments, would be like, but the job is, if that's what you want to do, it's our job to get behind it, support it, and try to make sure.
And then when they started to see some, you know, hometown buzz,
Yeah.
they started to go, okay, well, maybe things can happen. And we got on the road there for a little bit, and it was almost like, all right, well, maybe they are doing what they're supposed to do.
Right.
But,
Talent too. They probably saw some talent. You know, at a young age, they were like, "Well, how?" You know, because I know there were times when people would just quietly around us, going like, "Well, how, you know, well, they all figuring out. You know, nobody's coaching these guys up.
Right.
They are figuring it out by themselves.
I remember
And
this
they
one,
are 10 and 11 years
this
old.
one time we were 8 or 9 years old, and I had already learned a couple of chords on my own from a book, a Mel Bay book, and then turned you on to it, and we learned a couple of chords together, and then we found out they were having group guitar lessons at the elementary school during the summer. So we went down there one afternoon, and we thought we're gonna really be like totally, our eyes were gonna be opened, and there was maybe 4 or 5 other people in there, maybe some adults too. It might have been like a whole, I don't remember it that well, but I just remember sitting down, and me and you knew chords already, like C and G, and these people were just trying to put their first fingers down, like really super beginner.
Yeah.
And that's when we first realized, like, wow, we're not just onto something here, but we know a little more than just being a beginner at this point. So let's get out of here. And we both left. We went to the music store on Hempstead Turnpike. There was an instrument store right next to the old Club Med, the Melody Lounge over there in Levittown. And we used to
By the
spend so much
TSS.
time in this place where these guys behind the counter would be like, are you kids going to take residency here or what? Are you
Yeah,
going to
all
buy
day.
anything? We would buy rock candy and like 3 colored guitar picks, the turquoise picks, because they're, you know, the coolest thing, and the rock candy on the string. Remember that stuff they had in the jar in the front? You probably
I do. I
You
do
do?
now. Yeah, they did have that.
And, you know, dogs sleeping on the floor. It was a cool little scene
Yep.
there, and we would just spend a whole summer just like hanging out in music stores.
And then one day they ripped our hearts out because it was just like ripped down, right? It was
Yeah.
just gone.
But at
was
that
2
point, we were old
stores,
enough to
wasn't it?
start drinking underage, so we went the same place for the bar next door.
Was that 2 stores like next to each other?
Well,
or
then it
was
became Super Stuff, remember? The record
Yes,
store.
yes.
And then that was
and
next
then
door
that
to
moved
that.
to
Yeah.
the mall.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow, I just had a clear moment right there, remembering what happened. That's
You know, the
fantastic.
funny thing is a lot of people who don't know what we do as far as play music together. We were in a band called the Underdogs in the 80s and 90s, and we had a bunch of originals, and we were coming close to doing something really good there. And we'll play some of those songs tonight just to show that we're not just lip service here. We did play guitar and write songs.
And some of them would stand up to some extent.
Yeah,
Even though we're changing the key on some, and hopefully we'll get them right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're going to transpose 2 songs tonight that we normally would sing a lot higher when we were a lot younger. But why don't we do one of them now?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know. What do you think?
Let's do the Toll Man, which was...
Okay. Let me see. I thought maybe...
Even the Toll Man, Tony. It's like we're past people. There's no such thing as a Toll Man anymore. There is one left in Atlantic Beach. $3 at the bridge. Soon to be defunct. And we're going to slow it down as well.
Yeah, why not? We'll go a little more traditional. We used to call it a blues tune, and we never really did it like the blues. Obligations to fulfill. There's nothing for nothing. Well, that's how it's gonna stay. When you pull up to the Toll Man, everybody's gotta pay. There ain't a master plan, and I don't see no pot of gold. Don't get no special reward for doing what you're told. You're looking for something that just ain't coming your way. When you pull up to the Toll Man, I know you're gonna pay. You may pay them off weekly or pay them year by year. You may catch a grant on Sunday, Monday, double like you fear. You may pay them off on credit, you may pay them off by cash. If you do now, then the Toll Man, you're never gonna pass. There ain't no master plan living in this jungle. See no light shining at the end of this here tunnel. No, looking for something, yeah, ain't coming your way. When you pull up to the Toll Man, oh no, you're gonna pay. That's right, all right, Tommy. You may pay them off in nickels, you can pay them off in dimes. Any way you want to pay the man, that'll do just fine. Get down on your knees, hold your breath until it's blue. If you don't give up with what he wants, well, he'll never let you through. Ain't no short thing, wake up, there ain't no American dream. You keep your head above the water as you're floating through the mainstream. And what comes around goes around. Thought I heard some people say, when you pull up to the Toll Man, oh no, you're gonna pay. You come across the Toll Man, oh no, you're gonna pay.
Lori Zott's comments, nice, he says.
Hey, Lori. We just saw Lori in a restaurant before we got here, believe it or not. We had to like stock up on some nutrition to be so fluent.
Full of life, energetic.
Have such verve.
He used the word verb. And if this was a Groucho Marx show, the duck would come down with the signed verb on it.
Come on, Tony. What's going on, man?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't bring my duck. Sorry.
Well,
Every time I've heard, and for every time I heard that one.
someday with your help, we'll get that duck.
We'll get that duck. I'm gonna get that duck.
So yeah, we used to play in the school every possible chance we could. Artie would walk down the halls between classes singing at the top of his lungs. I'd be like, how does this guy get the balls to be like walking? The bell rings, he comes out, Rocket Man, burning out his fuse, and down. Everybody's just looking. All right, okay.
They left me alone. Everybody left it alone. They probably.
No, that's Don Zott's crew there, playing in the same exact place we used to play. I think that's the connection there. Oh, there's one. That's the same place.
Which place? Which
Remember,
place is that?
Artie, well, we can't see it here. I don't know if you're showing that on the screen. We have no monitor tonight. I guess we're really freewheeling tonight. I usually know what's going on by looking at the TV and having that delay, But
It is delayed.
so
but
when I crash and burn, I can look up and see it twice. Yeah.
There you go. Wow.
No, that's Don Zott's crew. He was older than us and lived in Westbury. Hey, Don, you posting stuff up there? Is that what's going on? Anyway, it was a place up on Hempstead Turnpike. Remember a place called Unicorns? I think it was. It was a steakhouse at some point.
Yeah. Unicorns. Yes.
Yes, remember?
I do remember that.
So that's where those pictures were taken.
Wow.
Yeah, our big breakthrough into gigging and doing shows was to play restaurants, and there are grand openings, or if they were selling a new chicken turkey dinner or something, they would have a grand opening day for that, and we would somehow get on these gigs. And I remember one time we were really starting to feel like we were important. We were playing this short-lived turkey chicken place up on Hempstead Turnpike.
Oh, that's what I thought. That wasn't Unicorns?
No, that was it was a little further down. Remember, it was like a standalone building, and
I remember.
Had those roundish windows and
Yeah.
yeah.
Had some kind of.
But we had this woman who
1970s
hired us,
arches.
and she's like, "So what?" And she has some really thick German accent.
Yeah.
She's like, "What do you guys play?" And what am I in for? What do I expect? And we told her, we do this and that. We were really good at 14 years old to convince her that we were the greatest band. And I forgot we were doing a song that was really significant to us. And she came walking up like, "Everyone, stop everything, stop everything, stop." And we're like, "Halt! Try our delicious deluxe turkey bacon sandwich right now. They're available over at the counter." And it was like we were just in the middle of our most artistic moment. We got to get out of this kind of. So then we went down to the ground round. Right in Hicksville, the old ground round, and we got onto some talent thing there on a Monday night, and
I remember that one.
It just so happened it was August 1st, 1978, and it was Jerry Garcia's birthday, and we're playing, and we decided to open up with Truckin' because we had figured out the lyrics by now. Maybe. And it just happened to be a table of Deadheads. It was the perfect thing, right?
Wow.
And Artie's voice is hardly changing. We like to take it.
Yeah.
It's song to Jerry Garcia. It's his birthday today. And these people yeah! We had them in the palm of our hand.
After that, we had no idea what to do with them.
Yeah, so that was another big adventure on the strip. Instead of the Sunset Strip, we had Hempstead Turnpike. We did McDonald's, Nathan's.
Yeah, well, we couldn't go too far from home.
Yeah.
We were getting well, we had a lot of support that night at the ground round. The families all showed up.
My dad,
Our little sisters.
my
and
dad
brothers were
reminded me
there.
of the keg parties that used to happen. We used to be hired as the house band for a lot of these high school fraternity type parties, and we were way younger than the people who booked us, and we still needed to get rides to these places with our parents dropping us off, and my dad comes to pick us up or drop us off, and it was he says it every time. It was like that Cheech and Chong movie. The door of the van opened and all these people fell out. There was smoke and beer bottles everywhere. And you're telling me that you're sleeping over his house, and he's telling everybody he's sleeping over their house. And my father's sitting out with my mom in the front of the house. They hear us singing up the block. They follow the music.
I don't know, Marianne.
It was a crazy time. But I don't know. These little memories come flashing through that seem kind of entertaining to me. I don't know. Maybe because
Listen,
those days are really gone now.
It echoes to the idea that, none of that stuff can happen anymore. Even for young kids who were coming up and maybe had the ability to get something like that going off the ground or something. I just don't see how they would. There was a little bit of madness in terms of families and young people coming up, and often I find the debate comes up about, the job that parents did years ago. And, the more I think about it, there's two sides to that.
Right.
They did let their kids live and grow. They would. We were in dangerous, crazy situations at times. But maybe in today's world, it just wouldn't work even it wouldn't work as well. The danger would be there. It would be, I mean, we heard shots go off at
Oh, in that youth center.
at that youth center. Somebody's gun went, or somebody was shooting something, and I guess that's happened then. It could still happen now. So there's always some kind of element, but boy, oh boy, craziness.
And some of the bars, that are still standing, like Mr. Beery's, we'd be in there underage drinking, and he'd be bartending when it was the Peacock, and just being like, someday I'm going to own this place, I'm going to have bands here, and we call it Mr. Beery's. It was like preordained that we would be part of that whole scene there, and I'm still playing there. Artie's still playing there.
Yeah, it's still.
Steve's a friend of the show. He comes on once in a while, and so some of them are still standing. There's many that you can go back. Remember that place? It used to be that place. That was that place before then, and
a couple of those places.
we got the tail end of the real big bar scene on Long Island. There was, the drinking age didn't go up yet, and then we didn't have to deal with the. The smoke, even the smoking thing for a while there, people were just smoking in the bars, and it wasn't like, just everything was big and different then.
It was very different.
And it was the tail end of what the heyday really was when you talk to people older than us that had gone through the bar scene then. But
we played a lot of silly music too. A lot of silly music, a lot of cool, but also then a lot of silly music.
we were actually in a bar when they raised the drinking age,
Yep.
and they turned the lights up at midnight, and
Yep.
the cops came in and proofed everybody, and our show was over.
And we looked back at that as like we didn't realize at the time. 10 years later, he looked back and said, "Oh, there were times like the day the music died and this and that." But we didn't know at the time. But like as far as the Long Island music scene, when it had gone from 18 to 19 and then 19 to 21, and we were right in the crosshairs of that. We were 18 and 19 and 20 when all that change was happening, and we survived as a working band for the most part. We survived. The 18 to 19, but like I think we even kind of knew that when the 19 became 21, like the 2-year gap, that space there was not going to be as recoverable or survivable. That really it changed. The game changed, and then you had to. To our credit, we were still out there, knocking down gigs. We were still doing.
And also the schedule of like your first set starting at 11:30 and playing till they turn the lights up at 4 a.m. Like that also kind of died around that time too.
Yep.
And
That gradually,
as we got older, so we were always okay with it.
Right,
It's
right.
like, I'll be home by midnight
It's
now.
gone-
And now
it's
it's like,
gone
I'm
away.
done by 9. It's awesome.
It's gone away over the years. It has.
Yeah.
Little by little.
We used to play to big crowds of our friends, high school. Like right out of high school, everybody was still tight knit with their cliques, and we were like the only thing really to go out and do on the weekends that wasn't just picking up chicks at the disco. Feathers. Let's go see either the Underdogs play at Neptune's or we'll go to Feathers.
Wear my cool hat.
Let's do another song. Want to do one we're going to try to transpose so we can screw it up really nice?
Yeah, let's.
Hot and the place was packed. The little girls were jumping, there was nothing that relaxed. And all my friends were with me in the groove. But it would be nice to have some elbow room. I'd feel so much better with some air. Won't you give it to me now? So clean and the beat was so right. The drinking men were laughing, it was crazy all night. And all my friends were feeling oh so good. But it would be nice to have some elbow room. Elbow room. Elbow room. Elbow room. Elbow room. Don't you know what I mean? There's no elbow room in the middle of a dream. Oh yeah, yeah. Now you're real sweet, but I waited online. You know, so many times I'd fall in, but not this time. My so-called friends were acting oh so rude, but all they needed was some elbow room. Feel so much better with some air, yeah. When the space is small, you gotta learn this lesson to have yourself a ball. Me and my friends were acting oh so rude. All we really needed was some elbow room. Elbow room. Elbow room. Elbow room. Elbow room, can't you see what I mean? There's no elbow room in the middle of a dream, the middle of two queens. I don't want to make a scene. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
That'll work in A.
Yeah, that's good. I'll sing that one for the last days of my life. I'll sing it that way now. That song was inspired. Billy Capozzi, our late great friend and lyricist at the time, wrote that inspired by a very crowded Bob Weir show at the, I want to say Roseland maybe, but like, I think even Sheets was like holding court in the front. I didn't even know him yet, but there was I remember we used to call him the Juicer. Big smug guy, Tom, whatever his name was. But anyway, it was crowded with people dying to be up front. It was Bob Weir alone, solo acoustic.
Oh, okay.
And we were all like, you know, our friends were really like enthusiastic to like get his attention and be up with it. But it just got so packed so fast. And all these cute little girls were trying to be, excuse me, can I get in front of you? Like, no, we waited online, man. Get the guy. So the song was written by that experience and that event, and you might have been there. Maybe Wasserman was with him. I don't know. Might have been just.
No, that rings a bell too. Both of those things ring a bell, but maybe Wasserman.
Yeah. That's the other thing. Me and Artie ran together in a lot of the Grateful Dead shows back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Good times.
Good stuff. Learned a lot.
Yep.
Learned a lot about how to play from those guys.
Yep, how to play the game.
That too.
Remember Jerry Garcia show, Capitol Theater in Passaic. We go into the show. It's a beautiful night. We come out. It's a blizzard. A foot of snow on the ground. We had to go over the GW bridge in your duster. He had one of those. Those
they were all over the road.
Dusters had no suspension. It was fishtailing the whole way.
Oh, yeah.
And all the deadheads coming out just being like, oh my God, what happened?
What just happened?
We got to deal with this now.
Right? Walking out into that.
Yep. Many good experiences there.
Absolutely.
Sing us another song.
Where else do we go? What were we talking about? Oh, we didn't do Can You Rise, did we?
Okay. Another co-written song with David Portolano. If you ever hear this or see this, Dave, we love you.
Yeah, I was thinking about him today.
Would it behoove us to tune? I'm feeling out of tune, and we could do that kind of thing here because this isn't live. This is virtual. Yes, we're still 100% human here, even though you see us from your devices.
Oh, there is no like AI guitar tuning yet?
Not yet. I was talking about that.
You know what? But that's probably a real, like someday you won't have to tune the guitars; they'll tune themselves. That makes
Well, they had
perfect
those
sense.
Gibsons that had the tuners that they called the robot
Did
Les
they?
Paul, and it tuned
okay.
itself.
So they had that already.
Yeah, it's all done already.
It's all been done.
I'm more leaning towards like having an AI version of me to go out and do the gigs where I could hang out home and imagine have a holographic version of yourself. Just go out there, do this one tonight. Or you can tap in once in a while to it. Like, all right, you know what? They're asking for that tune. Why don't you do that one? You know, I'll just supervise from my couch. But you know, they're getting there. Hey, if anybody is watching here live while we're being virtual and you'd like to become part of the live experience, why don't you give us a call? What's that number again, Tony?
The number is up on the screen, 516-465-3990.
Ooh. I
Right
never
there.
know it. Thank you, Tony.
My pleasure, pal.
That sounded very professional.
Wait till we have
I
to
try.
actually plug upcoming shows and I draw blanks. I love that too. We'll be at, just check the calendar.
You know where to go.
All right, let's do this. If you don't believe in yourself, how can you expect it from somebody else? If you want love, strive. Time passes by every day, and slowly you'll find yourself just wasting away. Still you have something more to say to everyone who knows your life. They've seen this happen once or twice before, and you know there's more. But can you rise above it all? Can you sense a change? Can you feel a brighter light come shining through down upon you? A little faith will cure your ills. Happiness doesn't come in pills, so don't complain. Still at home, you remain locked up. All alone, you keep it to yourself. You don't depend on no one else but you. And you know it's true. So tell me what you're gonna do. And so you feel like taking your show out on the road. happened once or twice before, and there's so much more. But can you rise above it all? So now you made a name for yourself. Now you know just exactly who you're supposed to be. You know your destiny. So tell me, how do you feel to know everything around you is so very real? There are no more secrets to conceal. Everyone who comes to know the bitterness that tends to grow inside, that you just can't hide. Well, can you rise above it all? Can you rise above it all? Can you rise above it
Personal favorite, right? That is
as
a
it
good one.
dissipates into the ether?
Oh, right. the ringing chord.
Yeah, that's like just shortly after high school that song was written, right? Or,
Yes, sir.
what do we got? Tangerine Sky. Often wondered if that should have been called Tangerine Sky. How many skies we got? Just one.
Tangerine skies as the sun passes by. The leaves turn green and brown, then they're falling down to the ground. August winds will blow, very little cool but slow. Makes me wonder why the leaves will have to die. Tangerine sky. Time. As I close my eyes, I see friends and lovers that I used to know. Out in the days of June, they're as distant as December snow. And whether or not the weather gets anywhere better, some you might see, some you'll never hear from forever. Again, I've learned to play quite well with people and weather. Learning to be quite clever, don't you think? Don't you think? Oh yeah. Tangerine skies. The next time I saw your eyes, they were searching for a soul. They were looking through a hole. And if I do remember, towards the tail end of November, the birds began to fly. They bounced us on a high tangerine sky. First day of winter,
holds up. Still holds up.
That was Artie's, pretty much. I think I helped with the bridge, I forget.
Yeah, these are all songs you guys wrote back when you were teenagers in bands together? These are really some good tunes, man.
Oh, thanks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like 15, a lot of them.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
15, 16. 10th grade was a big grade year for us. In 10th grade, a lot of this stuff came out.
Yeah.
Why do you guys think it... Because, I mean, I've been telling you that for years since I've known you. I've always enjoyed your work, you know, a lot of the stuff that I've heard. Why do you think you didn't become bigger?
Many reasons I could
Yeah?
pick out now as an adult. I mean, first of all, we were a big band. We were 6 or 7 guys by the time we were really trying to become, something to reckon with. And the jam scene or whatever we were doing at the time
a little before.
was
We were
not,
in between.
It was not in style at the time, you know. Like
It had left. Those were our influences.
Right.
So we took that and ran with that.
Yeah.
And then, really, I mean, MTV happened. And it killed a lot of those existing,
Yes.
more classically rock-based bands. And we were trying to, we had figured out how to get ourselves on what was going to be the emergence of these like festival tours and everything. One or two things, and we held our own on those things. We would come off the stage sometimes being like, it really felt like this could, this could have legs. And the 90s came and things were changing. We weren't losing much of an audience there. People were still digging it. But I think things were going to go where they were going to go.
Yeah. MTV definitely altered the business sense of like,
Yeah,
and I remember we used to try to play Bleecker Street, all those up, and invite A&R guys from labels and send our demos out, and there'd always be the empty table there, and hoping they'd show up, and we'd go to those conventions. What was it, NACA, the National for colleges, try to get on the college circuit, and then we, it just got to the point where we were just trying to keep up with the times musically. So we would split our shows between the covers and then do our originals and then try to do some more current covers, and then we'd have our crowd that's so used to the classic stuff being like, why are you guys doing Easy Lover or
Oh my God.
we were doing like stuff of the times.
We would try it all. We tried it all.
Yeah.
Just for the idea of trying to
Right. So that
build
was a good
some
reason
momentum.
too, because we were so convoluted with what we really. There was no focus, real pure, and being young and everybody's egos were just like we wanted to be like, it was probably really hard to sell.
Yeah, pulled in a couple of different directions. We never had real, like, legit management.
Right.
Maybe a elderly figure. We were young through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody going, "Hey, dummies."
Well,
This is what
we
it
got to
is.
give props to Frank Cariola. The name Frank Cariola ring a bell?
Maybe.
I mean, here was an older gentleman who was in the business, and I think "Expressway to Your Heart" was like one of his songs he pushed.
Oh, okay,
and,
He was Sundance out in Bayshore.
Sundance and
Okay.
Bayshore,
Oh,
and
sure.
he had the Roxy in Huntington, and he was blown away by our show that he rented a space for us, and paid the rent, and supported us, and made us the house band whenever there was a national act to come in, whether it be the Ramones or the Dixie Dreggs or whatever, when he would throw us on
Whistle,
before
right?
them.
Yeah, we got nice,
So-
and he'd put us on right before the big act.
Right, so we got a lot of good exposure, but he believed in us, but he was the guy that was also in the old way the business worked, and didn't have the context to really try to get this new band up and coming that's gonna. But aside from that, the music itself was just not as commercial as it should have been, I guess. And then as soon as we kind of went different directions, Blues Travelers, the Spin Doctors, Dave Matthews, like all these bands that were kind of making jamming be a little more like prominent in their style was coming out.
Yep.
Damn, I just missed it.
Right. I think that dial really, that clock exists out there. It's very real, and that's why there are the bands who had the talent and the timing lined up, the planets lined up at the right time, so they hit.
Right.
The bands that have the talent, and it's not the time for that, because we always knew, even at a young age, that faking it doesn't work.
Right.
In other words, trying to chase that or being like, well, let's just do that then. That doesn't work, because you are what you are and who
That's
you
right.
are.
Yep. I agree.
So those bands, suffer that or live and die by that. They live and die by it. They go, no, we never went all the way because we were a little late for this. We were like those tweener types, so we were right in between. Like,
Yeah.
I would say in a decade type of sense. our main influences were 10 years older, and but the guys coming up soon became 10 years younger.
Right.
And then music changed. In some ways, well, it went in many directions. Some of it dumbed down, some of it got harder, some of it got edgier. Not that that wasn't always out there, but that became
Right.
the mainstream. That became a lot more mainstream. Then after I was gone, they tried to do that. They went in that direction, and they were real good at it. But then, sometimes we always felt like if you're already at that point, like trying to catch up or say we can do that too, we could probably be better at that. But if that's the case, I always felt that the guys who are setting the scene, that was thought about 2 years ago to be here right now.
Right.
Like that was game plan 2 years ago to be ready to rock and roll, to be out there, with everything in place.
Yep.
Agents and tour managers, everything it takes all that time, and then you're still rolling the dice all the time, and you hope that if your dice come up, then you get that shot, and then and then it's up to you not to blow it. Now we always knew we wouldn't blow it. If we got
the
there,
shot,
we would deliver.
Right. Yeah,
all
right.
you had to do was get to step up to the plate.
Right. Which
Yeah.
even like when we got called to do that Debbie Gibson tour, and they gave us 2 days to get our whole act together and be on the road, and we did it. We made it. And they dangled the carrot every night. Like, if you guys do good tonight, you can do the following night. And they never told us a promise of anything. It was just one day at a time.
Right.
And we did it. And, a lot of it also has to do with the fact that there was no internet yet.
Right.
And we were still relying on word of mouth. We would, before band practice, be folding, licking flyers and putting them in envelopes and stamping them. And you're taking them down to the post office tomorrow. We had to go to Hicksville because they were open till 11 to get them out in time.
Right.
And this is
That's
how
right,
we
Tom.
tried to get stuff happening.
Sometimes
for
you
ourselves.
forget all the little stupid stuff you did just to try to get what was gonna turn out to be.
Right.
With your best efforts, a minuscule, less than 1% of who you could reach
Yep.
with the click of a button.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and we were still relying on someone to take our hand and press it and release it and distribute it. And now everybody just does it themselves. I mean, the record labels, it's
You
just...
YouTube your song and somebody has 750,000 hits in a couple of days because everybody related to it.
Right.
We were making some relatable music. But that sounds a little sour grapes, but that's just
No, it's just
it's just
how
a
it
sign
was.
of the times. It's a
Right.
sign. That's the way it was then. And
Right.
before that, it was even,
Yep.
it was Buddy Holly and the Crickets trying to figure out, must have been some, that's where I think like the manager and all that other stuff was so essential.
Well, even just an enthusiastic DJ can make or break a career, because they played
Right.
your record, they were happy, and then eventually they were paid to play your record, and then, so it's, we certainly didn't have that push. We met professional people over the years that would promise us a lot, and they loved us as a bunch of guys because we were tight. We were tight from grade school, so we were like one organism half the time. Like if we wanted to talk to a lawyer about what to do, all 7 of us would pile into his office, and they'd be like, "What do these kids want? What do they want here?" And just that kind of stuff that would happen,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we keep plugging away, and now like
That's it.
we're big fish in a small pond, physically and mentally. We just kind of play around, and where people accept you and they like what we do, and we do it. But
It's a good question.
to be
I'm
20
glad you
again
asked
and
that.
try to
Cool.
make that happen again.
Well, yeah, and it's, I guess, persistence, I guess, would be the word. I mean, because you've stuck with it. You've played, you got Half Step and Tiger Rose. And so
Right, but that's also
the people find you.
surrendering to the fact that you're just going to maintain someone else's. Even though that music has a wide open, space to be
yeah.
original in,
Right.
it's still claiming someone else's real invention, And
But I think in this day, the day of the tribute bands, that's probably one of the better ways to get some of the original music out there.
right. Even Artie over the years. He comes to see Half Step, and it's weird. Here's a guy, best of the best, and I'm playing Grateful Dead, and he knows me to do all this other stuff, but at times doing Grateful Dead. And you said over time, why don't you just sneak in some of the originals within
Yeah.
the Dead? Maybe people would gradually get into that. And then I got to say, well, then the style of the music should have to really connect with that. And I don't think I really write Grateful Dead-y music when my originals. They don't, to me, would they fit in with Grateful Dead? I don't know. So that's strange.
It's a good question.
And I've done shows like, like I won memory comes to mind. It was a Stony Brook Radio benefit, and I'm out there, and I'm trying to do my originals, and I'm hearing Skull Begonias, so it's like,
Oh wow.
am I typecast now? Like, if I do Skull Begonias now, they're gonna like it, but then
Was that Mark Klein with at Stony Brook?
this was years ago.
Oh, because I was just looking to blame him. That's all.
We could if you want.
Yeah, let's blame him
It was
anyway.
Mark
Yeah,
Klein's fault.
yeah.
All.
No, we love Mark and his Blues Warehouse.
Absolutely. He's a good boy.
But yeah, that was an example of me feeling like, wow, maybe I can attract this crowd with my own stuff, and right away they're just like, Grateful Dead,
Yeah, sure.
But that's why I remember saying to you that was why the way to do that was to just take one song, do it for a year.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in there.
Let them. All of a sudden, you've got one that they start telling that audience is starting to tell each other. No, this is one of his songs.
Right, right.
And even if they're hearing it for a year, because if you look at that formula that way, that becomes. You know, every gig or every other gig or so, you're dropping that in. People get to know that, and
Right.
you're not taking away. They're not being punished for it.
Right.
You're not taking away that, you're adding that thing that's the closest thing in your style, say, to that. You drop that one in, it's a little bit like Skull of Begonias, it's a little bit like Fire on the Mountain. It has that groove or something. You write that song. That's what I was, hearkening to back then, saying, come on, you can sneak that in. You got it now. You got their attention. And guess what? If their attention span is so minute that it's only good for 4.5, 5 minutes, so be it. Go back to their stuff.
And right, because you figure half.
That's marketing.
And some of the audience is, drinking and talking, so they might not even realize that.
Right.
And
they
if
won't
it
register that,
fits,
they're doing something.
Well,
That's
that's
right.
right.
It might just be
And
something
that
they did that you don't know.
right, exactly. You've snuck that in.
exactly.
Right.
Like,
And
I,
whether they wanted to or not, or thought, because we came across all types of fans over the years. There was the deadhead you could tolerate, and the one that was intolerable, right?
Right.
When they were just like snobby, right? So if you start pulling the wool over their eyes like that, and then it's 6 months later, and now they start, and that's, I would think, like once you have a connection there and you have like that market, you trick them into it.
Right.
Hey, you know what? And then the sophisticated one goes, yeah, he started playing. I saw what he did. He started sneaking that one in 4 or 5 months.
But
in.
it
You
grew
know
on
what?
them.
Yeah.
I kind of like it now.
Right, exactly. I mean, I
All
think
right,
of
so half step next time we do a show, I'm going to sneak in one of these
Look at
originals.
what? Just have them,
We'll
jam it.
don't disturb matter into the deal, and they won't know the difference.
the tribute.
Some of them would think that Don't Disturb Matter was like, I think it's just a dead
I've been playing that song enough. I mean, it's an original song written in high school with our past friend, and I still play it. And the Beeries crowd, for instance, they know it
They
well
know
enough
it.
when
There
it
you
comes
go.
on. They're like,
Right.
yeah, all right, this one. Mm-hmm. But to have the whole band learn it and do it, and interestingly sound like the Dead style playing it, because everybody's in that frame of mind with the gear that sounds like Grateful Dead and all, it would be like, okay, what's this going to be?
Put
like?
it in a more open, jammy world. It's definitely more acceptable.
Well, you take the tribute, arguably the king of tribute artists, Mike Del Giudice with Big Shot.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly what he did. He started working some originals in, then he would put out the studio versions and make a video for it on YouTube. And they
then once
embraced
again,
it.
The modern world's technology plays into that, because now somebody can go home and they can sit right there on their phone and download this.
Right. Yeah. Right.
But those steps and that formula, like what you're saying there, is that's something that I always figured that would be the way to do it.
Right. Right.
Well, that's
You're
what
not
the Underdogs
asking-
were doing.
Yeah,
we would do
exactly.
Steely Dan original, Traffic, Grateful Dead, Pink Floyd, 2 originals. It was like we would just mix it all in, but
Right.
like we were feeling more within the pocket of the covers we were doing to really complement the originals when we mixed it up.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
Same thing applies.
Right. So to have the variable differences of the covers, it makes whatever you're doing. Well, of course it fits. But
Right.
with one specific band, and then now you're going to do all
Because
these-
you have legitimate fans now. So in that sense, if you give them something,
Right.
I think the response would be whatever it would have been 10 years ago or
Right.
so. I think it would be different now. I do.
We'll try it out.
Yeah,
See
I
how
would
that
experiment with it.
All right, well, should we do another song? I don't know, just noticing the time that it flew by.
I know the song.
All right, we're going to play another songs, he
Maybe we'll
said.
do when it rains.
When it rains. We're going to transpose this one too, I hope.
No, I'm not going to change the key for you. We could do this in C sharp. You sing your part to this too. We'll figure it out.
I'll get it.
Baby, you go your way, and I'll go mine. And
And as the sun rises over my head,
We trade these notes with the string band.
and as the clouds force me out of the sky,
I said, I wonder why when it rains, suppose. When it rains, suppose. Close the windows, shut the doors. Because when it rains, it really pours. Spend my life living a life of such bad time. I'm giving up on giving everything that was mine. You want it, need it, you gotta live without it, baby. It's so important to you. I give it to you, know you do without it, baby. Ooh, you're the ghost, not brand new.
and as the days and weeks fly by,
How until the clock still keeping time, and as the morning lights my eyes, should I shut my blinds? When it rains, it really pours. When it rains, it pours. It's raining on and on and on, because when it rains, it really pours. When it rains, it really pours. Oh yeah, when it rains, it pours. Let the window, shut the door. When it rains, it really pours. When it rains, it pours. When it rains, it pours. When it rains, it really pours. Oh, yeah.
we'll sign off with this old one. disturb matter. When you see it begin to crumble, don't disturb matter.
I don't need to tell you why. Figure it out before you die. Know you may try and try again.
If and when it is touched, don't disturb matter, no matter, don't disturb matter, don't disturb matter, no matter, even though you'd rather, don't disturb matter. Oh, it's an absolute pleasure, as always.
Always.
Always. We make a noise. You make a nice noise.
What do you got coming up?
You got my calendar up by any chance?
I was looking, but I couldn't. I only saw dates from last week.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't find anything new.
Wait a minute. Am I already out of date? I can't be. Yeah, well, my FlipTrax has got most of them for this month at least. Oh, yeah. Well, let's see. I'm going to be playing a new place for me tomorrow night at the Sugar Bowl in Breezy Point. Does anyone know where Breezy Point is? Anybody got the code to get into the gate, to get into the building, the place?
Breezy Point. I mean, I'm gonna want to say that's not.
The end of Rockaway Beach.
Right? Yeah, Queens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not. So it's not Brooklyn.
No, it's like by Howard Beach, I guess, but south of there, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So
You
let's
are?
play some there on.
You're branching. You're branching.
Yeah. And then Wednesday I'll be with Dave Diamond and his awesome band. And that'll be at Still Partners in Seacliff.
That's Thursday.
Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday.
Thursday, Half Step will be playing at the Long Island Science Museum at Leeds Preserve. Is that the official way to call it? I used to call it the Port Washington Science Museum, but I was corrected on that. Yeah, so it's an outdoor thing. Starts at 5 o'clock. It's like live after 5 kind of thing. So we'll be there at 5 o'clock in the showmobile. And then Friday, what do I got Friday?
Show 'em.
Oh, that's right. We got Half Step as a quartet at the Cabana in Long Beach. That's happening Friday. Saturday, we got a private party. It's a private party. Yeah, and so it's Saturday. Sunday, geez, I don't know if it's Tiger Rose. It might be. I might be wrong on that, but yes. And then we'll be playing out in Patchogue on Monday. Half Step will be playing at the 89 North Courtyard under a gazebo. Nice. And played there a few weeks back with Tiger Rose, and it's kind of funny because the gazebo in the corners of the roof of the gazebo is bird nests with little birds chirping the whole time we're playing. They're like,
Screaming.
so now they're probably adult birds being like. But yeah, so that's my current. Yeah, you can check out FlipTrax.com. That's FlipTrax, like the title of this program. And thanks again, Tony Walker, for having the stamina to be here all day with headphones on, with faders and a mouse in one hand. And I thank you for that, my friend.
My pleasure, pal. Anytime.
And possibly in 2 weeks we'll be back. If God willing, we'll be back here doing this again with guests to be announced.
More guests, more fun.
Yes, more mayhem. I thank Sheets Steve Trayetta for driving me back and forth plenty times, especially now that my car's in the shop.